I've got a Christmas card today that is just the sort of Christmas card I love to send. It's got so much going on. It's absolutely beautiful. We will show you what we'll be using for today's video. From our Festive collection, we have the checkerboard poinsettia border, and we're going to extend that a little bit. We're just going to be using this inside section from the Art Deco Snowflake for our sentiment. Holly Swirl as a beautiful accent. The Scalloped Snowflake frame we'll be using for our focal element. And some poinsettias from the classic Poinsettia. Okay, so I think what I'll do is I'll start with the border. We'll kind of work from the bottom upward on this one. So I've already gone ahead and cut one of them. So what I'm going to do is extend this. So I'm going to line up this last little section with the first section on the die and definitely tape this into place. There we go. And I'll tell you what, let's see if we can even turn it around the other direction once we get it all straight and lined up. I want to make sure it slots into that very carefully. That looks pretty good. I'm going to tape that down to my cutting plate, and I think I'll put even one more piece. A lot of times they do move as you cut them. Put our cutting plate on, give it a quick run through. There we go. So because there's not a cutting edge on the actual end or sides of this one, you can cut it with a wider border if you like, or extend it as I've done here. Now there's quite a bit that needs to be popped out, but you can see you have a beautiful extended border there. And if you wanted it to be wider to put some mounting foam, you could do that as well. Now I've got one I've done ahead of time, and I've just cut a piece of white card to go behind it, and I've added some little pearls to the centers of those poinsettias. I'm going to add it onto my backing. I've got some like some navy blue pearl card for this. I'll give you a quick measurement on that. It is 5 7/8 by 7 1/8. Go ahead and I've added some mounting foam to that, so we will peel the backing off and just add that a little bit with just a hair of the blue showing beneath it. Keep that on there as straight as we can. That looks pretty good. And we can even put this onto our backing. I've gone ahead and done my usual piercing around the edge with a piercing ruler and a pokey tool. I do have a separate video that shows that if you want to see it. I've used some of the matching silver card and a little bit of that same blue card in my mats and layers. Put that into place. Okay, so now we're going to create the focal element. So what I want to do is, I've got one I've already cut the outside of. I'm going to bring in my Scalloped Snowflake, and we are going to put this into place. A little bit of our removable tape. Center that. Let's get it all lined up with our scallops. You just have to kind of move it a little until you're sure it's nice and even. Okay, and then I'm going to use the inside decorative piece, skipping the cutting dies on that. And this one, it's a little bit more of an eyeball, lining it up. You just want to have those same little scallops into place here. And I'll put that in there, and I'm going to lift up that tape I put down and put it on top of both of those pieces. And we'll cut this one. Okay, let's check it. That looks good. Remove some of our tape pieces, and unfortunately they do rip sometimes when you're removing them. There we go. See if we can get some of those bits out with our tool-in-one. There we go. Oops. Couple little pieces that need to be knocked out here. Set those aside. But you can see how pretty of a design you get from that one. So now I'm going to back that with a white backing. Now I've already cut this with just the outer cutting die from that set. I'll use a little bit of spray glue to speed it up. Put that right into place on top of the white. Just try and get it all nice and lined up. There we go. Move it around a little bit. Okay. So I've got a pretty background. Now the other thing that I did is I cut one of the scallop ones out of white and nipped it in half. So what I want to do is just add a little bit extra of a border across the top of that. One of the ways that I found that it's just a tiny bit easier to do this is to put a little bit of tape. Just separate them ever so slightly, line them up, and just put a little bit of tape across there just to hold them steady, and just double check to see if that's how it looks best. Now you can see a really nice border. I've just moved it out ever so slightly, so we'll peel it off our mat, and then we can add that with our foam there. Pop that back into place. There we go. And one more little piece of foam across the back. We'll hold that into place. So we can bring this out. Just put that right about center in the top of our card. Okay, so I want to accent this with some flowers and the swirls and whatnot. So I'll start with the swirls. And I've done 2 of these ahead of time. Let me just undo them. And they're beautiful swirls. So what you can do is sort of nip these apart. And I like this larger end. So I'm going to just take that and my glue, add a little bit underneath here, and just pop it under the edge, coming out. In fact, you can even just have it going off the card just a tiny bit. And I'm going to use the bottom in the same spot to come off the other end. So it's going to look like it's going diagonally across our card. Just carefully nip that right under there and let the glue dry. I've got a little bit on there extra. So now what I want to do is place some floral elements around. So I've gone ahead and done a couple of these ahead of time, but just to give you a quick idea what I did, I cut one more of these. I'm going to show you how I've done the edges on these. This is the Silver Chrome Glitter Kiss. Now it's got an applicator. You just tip it, and you can just pick up a little bit of this and wipe it, the extra bit, on the edge of your jar there, and you can go in and just hit the tips and the edges of your flower ever so slightly with this, going around, giving it a little bit of a build-up. If you want, you can use a paintbrush, you can use your finger for this. Just sort of move it around until you catch the edges, just like that. If you want, you can build it up a little bit heavier. You can let it dry and then add another layer if you want it to be a little bit heavier, or you can wipe most of it off and get a really light little shine to the edge, however you prefer. I like seeing just a little bit extra on my edges there, so I've got it fairly heavy, probably 2 coats on there, so I've let that dry. But that's what I've done. I've just gone around the edge on all of my poinsettias. I offset them and then put them together with a little pearl in the center. So we'll bring these in, and my glue dots. And I'm going to seat the 2 larger ones in this corner. Put them right about like that, and have this one above it a bit. There we go, and just sort of tuck it underneath. And you can bend these and give a little more form to them. There's all sorts of fun stuff you can do with these poinsettias. And we'll bring in this last little guy. I'm going to put him up in this corner. So I have a nice little balanced accent. And because we've got such beautiful flowers, we want to add in some of our berry boughs here. So on the smaller flower up in the corner, I'm just going to cut these down a little bit and add a couple around it. Just tip that underneath. Cut this down just a little bit more. And these have been designed so you can take off layers of them if you like and make them as small as you want. Or you can just let them kind of roam up full length if you want. There you go. We'll put a couple more in here. Oops. Nice little accents these are. And I love the fact that this is, it's done in such a way that you could probably use this year-round. It doesn't actually scream Christmas to you. It's got a look that could be easily used, I think, for some of your other cards. So, and you can even take the little bits that you had left over, let's say tiny little bit here if you wanted to use from the holly swirl, and you could add that in as well. So there's nothing really wasted here. It's lovely. going to take off that little holly piece and just use this tip end of it. Move that around, so add in a couple pieces there, just some nice little accents. And to finish up, I've gone ahead and stamped my sentiment, and I cut it out with the center from the Art Deco Snowflake. And that's got a really nice little shape that you can put right into the middle here. There you go. So you've got a beautiful Christmas card. So much going on, lovely floral detail with that. I just think that's stunning. Hope you've enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to look at us on our YouTube channel. We have so many more for you there.